All right, I guess we're doing this. After the Sunday slate of games, we are getting to the point where the Bears are mathematically eliminated. We're not technically eliminated, but it's all but done. It's an all but done deal. So we are going to do this by request. Some of you have been asking what the roster looks like next year, what the salary cap looks like next year. So I'm going to start the videos for that. We're going to go through some of that, and we're going to show where the team stands right now. Those of you who are new to the channel, this is where I really separate myself from other creators. I really know what I'm talking about with the roster build, with the draft, with the salary cap. So I appreciate you tuning in. If you don't mind hitting the like button for the algorithm, I appreciate that. If you don't mind hitting the subscribe button for future content, because there's going to be a lot of this moving forward. There's going to be a lot of rebuilding the roster, how we move forward from here. I'm not going to hit on the head coach today. That's going to sort itself out over the next 5 weeks, and when the season ends, that will be one that answers itself. I have my opinions. I've made other videos. You can go check those out on my opinions on the head coach, where we move forward. I'm not even sold on Ryan Poles at this point, but I think he's got one more year to try to prove himself, so I think we're stuck with him for now. We'll see. But let's jump right into what this roster looks like and the salary cap. So for the salary cap, we're going to bring me off screen. See you later. And then I use my little bear down pointer, my little bear down logo. A lot of you have been watching the channel know that. So over here on the right, I use that to point around, is the salary cap. These are the teams that are going to be competitive in free agency, the teams that have some money to spend, $52 million or more. Here's the Bears salary cap right now. So here's 2024. We're sitting on $5.75 million. If we don't use any more of that, if we don't use it on injuries or we don't use it on signing a player, that will roll over to next year, and this is next year's cap if the $273.3 million is what the cap comes out to be. It may be higher than that even after the TV deals and everything gets settled, but right now 273 is what we're going to plan on, and then we might have a little rollover, so we may even be around 86 million, 87 million. But right now, that's putting the Bears right in the 5th spot as far as salary cap space to be able to spend. You can see the Patriots are probably going to have a big offseason, the Cardinals, Raiders, Commanders. But if I'm looking at teams and I'm saying I want to go to this team and I'm a free agent, maybe the Commanders are really enticing, but the Bears are definitely an enticing option with our players who we have coming back. The Vikings would be enticing, the Chargers. So there's some teams in really good space. Right there, the Lions as well. Maybe the Packers, if you're delusional and you don't have half a brain, you'd want to go there too. But there's some teams that players are going to want to go to. So the Bears will be competing for some of these big-name free agents. Down here on the left, this is salary cap hell. These are the teams that are going to have to figure some stuff out. Worst in the league, New Orleans. Look at that, negative $77 million below. Now, they always find a way to figure it out. They find a way to fix their salary cap, either restructuring contracts or cutting the right guys. So it's not going to end up like that. They're going to, when the offseason ends, they're going to have to be to zero. They're going to have that salary cap fixed. But these teams are going to have to get creative, and they're not going to be going after the big name free agents. Cleveland as well. Seattle's at negative $1.6 million. Then these guys are right on the verge of being low. They can do little moves, but probably nothing huge unless they restructure something crazy. So this is where we stand on the salary cap for the rest of the year, where we stand right now. Now, I always create one of these little charts. It shows where we need to build, how we need to build. And this was my last year's, and the big things we needed to hit. One of the biggest reasons that I wanted to do the trade down for a haul was to hit multiple of these things. Well, the Bears addressed most of them. Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, Torrey Taylor. I didn't have punter on here. I added it after we drafted him. Austin Booker, defensive end, but I thought we needed a stud starter right now early on. Through free agency is what I thought. We picked up some defensive ends, but there's nothing it wasn't anything that screamed, oh, we're going to be a threat. With Montez Sweat on one side, maybe we thought Chase Young on the other side, something like that. It didn't happen. Kieran Amagaji, these are in-between needs. These were the big starter needs. These were the depth needs. We didn't address defensive interior either. I mean, we had some options. Byron Cowart isn't addressing the need, so I have unaddressed there. Ryan Bates at guard, Mercedes Lewis tight end, Coleman Shelton center. So those were kind of the key ones. We hit Coleman Shelton, and then unaddressed the defensive interior didn't get addressed still. So as we move forward to this next year, this is where we stand, and this is right after the Panthers overtime game, just barely. If they would have won that game, they would have had the 40th pick in the draft that we get from them. So I only list where we are in the top 3 rounds because those are day 1 and 2 picks. These are what I call the premium picks on my channel. For around 5th, 6th, 7th, 4th, you can pick up certain positions, linebackers, running backs that can be impact right off the bat, some defensive backs. But I consider these capital to be able to add to these to trade up. That's how I like to view the draft. But I understand these are picks and positions of where we can pick up some, sleepers, some guys that we might want. And I'll bring out some of those guys on this channel. But as for starters, what we need right now, and I'll run through each positional place. We need a defensive tackle, left guard, defensive end, right guard, center, wide receiver, linebacker. Don't be overwhelmed like, oh, the Bears are in crap trouble. No, this is actually better than most teams stand. We have a lot of contracts that are rolling into next year. We're not losing a ton of huge contracts. And I'll show that on here. In between needs, left tackle, nickelback and running back. And depth needs, wide receiver, tight end, cornerback, safety, and right tackle. Yes, I realize we probably need 2 of certain positions, but this is just where we stand on where our needs are overall for the team. So let's jump right into it. This is the meat and potatoes. This is why you guys like this channel. So here on the right, on these charts, this is the offensive lines. We're starting with the line first. This is Spotrac, and it shows the current contracts, okay? Unrestricted free agent means this player can negotiate contracts with anybody. They can sign anywhere, and you can see there's some key people coming up. Coleman Shelton, Larry Bourne, go somewhere else. Tevin Jenkins, key one. Matt Pryor, key one. And some backups, Jake Curhan. This ERFA, this means the player has not accumulated 3 years of service time in the NFL. They are restricted to the team that they're with. The Bears can sign these players for a league minimum contract on the ERFA, and I would expect them to do that with anyone that's worth their weight on an ERFA. Bill Murray, 100% will be signed. So you can see that's why I put him over here. He will be signed. Now, Doug Kramer, I'm not sold that we sign him to a league minimum. He might not be worth it to us. Maybe we bring him back as a fullback. We'll see. More than likely, he would be brought back. That would happen. But I like the idea of retaining Coleman Shelton, signing him, keeping him as our starter with Caleb Williams. They built cohesion, they built consistency, and right now, as it stands today, he is the 9th or 10th rated center in the entire league. Good at run blocking, good at pass blocking. Yes, he gets put on his heels every once in a while, but you can see when he's got his 2 starting guards next to him how he plays elite. He plays a lot better. Is he the end-all, be-all? Is he the fix for the permanent future? No, I would have loved to have Zach Frazier. The reality is Coleman Shelton's played very well. And he's played with Caleb, so I'd like to see him brought back on a 1 or 2 year deal, probably a 2-year deal, and then draft someone as well. And that's why I don't like the idea of bringing back Doug Kramer. So I'm not going to go into all my speculation and plug people in here on all these. I'm literally showing you what the situation and status looks like going into next year as of right now. So Doug Kramer probably will be re-signed for a league minimum, because even if he's down here as the 3rd option behind someone, or even Ricky Stromberg. If Ricky Stromberg, as those who know, he was signed to the practice squad to continue to rehab and to see if we can work him out. Former 3rd-round pick, bring him up to be a backup center. That would be great. Or we sign one that we develop behind Coleman Shelton and have him be. Or maybe we take the stud center of this draft and he's our new starting center. We'll see. But either way, this is what we lack right now. 3 starters. Maybe Tevin gets re-signed. I wouldn't want Matt Pryor to be re-signed, only if he's a backup, if he's a backup, not a starter. So this is where we start. This is where you can see the current contracts, and these guys that have a second row here, Darnell Wright, Ryan Bates, Kieran Amagaji, and Braxton Jones, they have contracts already for next year. That's why they're over here. So that helps explain as we move into the other screens. We'll go to running backs and quarterbacks next, and you can see here we've got Caleb, Tyson Bagent. These guys with lower contracts, you'll see these low values. That means they're on the practice squad. So right here, Darrington Evans, and these guys with a plus symbol here and a lower contract, that means they're on injured reserve. They're getting paid a lower amount for their injury. So that's why that's a little bit different. So Ian Wheeler will be back next year. You can see DeAndre Swift, Roshan Johnson, Ian Wheeler. Travis Homer's contract is up. I don't see us re-signing him, but he's one of the best pass-blocking backs we have, so we'll see. Tyson Bagent, Austin Reed on the practice squad. So practice squad's a whole nother story. I'm not looking at that for filling my roster, but we do need a powerhouse running back. Roshan Johnson's done well on the goal line, but last season I was the only one that I know of, one of the few that said the Bears should go after hard Derrick Henry. The backlash I got was he's over his prime, he's old, he's a geriatric running back, no way we go after him. And you know what? They're right. We didn't go after him. Would have been a huge difference maker for the Bears. DeAndre Swift, a very nimble, very dancing type of running back that can fill a certain need, but we need a powerhouse running back, and I would have liked Derrick Henry. Now I think we need to fill that need through a late-round draft pick or a cheap free agent signing. I don't see us with the contract we signed with DeAndre Swift signing a big free agent, but we could go after a cheaper one to fill those needs as well. All right, I probably could have showed this on the last one too, but our first rounders you see through 2029, 27, 26, 25. The reason I have through 27, 28 is if they're a first rounder who has a player, who has a team option to be able to have a fifth-year option on them. So obviously it isn't extended yet. We don't know if we're going to keep those players. So that's why Rome says 27, 28 like that. But there could be another blue box here because you want 6 wide receivers on your team. But when you have really big stud wide receivers on your team, you don't always need the 5th one. You just need the special or some guys for special team and some guys for the practice squad. But this is what we have right now. You got DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Tyler Scott as wide receivers. I am one of the few that's right on board with re-signing Keenan Allen to a 2-year value contract. Sign him to $15, $20 million, and it's worth it. People are starting to realize after this last week that might be the correct path with Caleb Williams and Keenan Allen's connection. Looking really good. Keenan Allen has had some drops. He's working on that. He's fixing it. It's very uncharacteristic of him. Cole Kmet is clearly tight end 1 for this team. I think they need to utilize him more. Gerald Everett, I don't think he's playing up to tight end 2 right now, so I've moved him back to tight end 3. Maybe he doesn't even survive his contract. We'll see. He's 30 years old. We'll see. Mercedes Lewis has no business being on the team. All right, the RFA, I didn't explain that before, but if another team offers our player a contract, they are a restricted free agent. This usually comes from an undrafted free agent status. So we sign someone as an undrafted free agent. You get 3 years of a contract with them. If somebody else offers them a contract, they're not unrestricted, they're restricted. So we can match that contract. And Steven Carlson, I don't think is going to get a huge contract from somewhere. So I would see us matching an offer for Steven Carlson as long as it's league minimum-ish. And I think that's what he would probably get offered. So I'm all on board with keeping Steven Carlson, but I'd like us to upgrade the tight end position as well. Maybe we have to cut Gerald Everett, and I'll get into a salary cap video for that. There is implications with that, but we have not built the worst contracts, which is a good sign for Ryan Poles. There's a lot I can knock on him. There's a lot I can really tear apart. Everyone can. But the contracts he's signing are actually very favorable for the Bears. So there's some good there. But this is where the wide receiver room stands, which is why we need another wide receiver. I'm in favor of Keenan Allen. I would prefer that option. There are some other players we can go after, but he's got sure hands, really good on 3rd and 4th down, which is why I love Keenan Allen so much. You need short yardage on 3rd and 4. He's sure-handed, gets open, great route runner. So Keenan Allen's still my favorite for the option, but maybe the Bears let him walk and we re-sign someone else. We'll see what happens there as we get towards the end of the year, though. All right, I got limited space on this one, but this is probably the most important one for the Bears moving forward. The reason the Tampa 2 has not looked so good this year is because we're not getting pressure and we're not stopping the run. You've got to have a stud middle linebacker, and you have to have stud defensive tackles and defensive ends. I know a lot of you really like Andrew Billings, and his pass rush has been a lot better this year, but he has no business starting in the National Football League. He is a backup at best. A lot of teams he wouldn't even be a backup on. I like Andrew Billings. I like Big Bill, but he needs to be a backup for us. We need a stud defensive tackle that can stop the run and get pressure, and we need a stud defensive end. This is the draft for that. This year's draft is stacked at the top from defensive tackle and defensive end. You're probably going to see 15 defensive linemen go in the first round this year. That won't shock me one bit. There's going to be some teams that have to take quarterback. You're going to have a couple wide receivers up there, a couple offensive tackles. You're going to have a couple positional players, a couple secondary players, but you are going to have a ton of defensive tackles and defensive ends, and we need a starter and we need a backup. Zach Pickens is not cutting it. It was a poor draft pick by Ryan Poles. He is not cutting his weight whatsoever. And Dominique Robinson is just not getting the reps this year. I don't even know if we keep him next year. He might be cut, but as it stands right now, we have Montez Sweat, DeMarcus Walker, Andrew Billings, Jervon Dexter, Zach Pickens, Dominique Robinson, and Austin Booker. We can extend Daniel Hardy for a league minimum, and we probably will, but it wouldn't shock me if he ends up back on the practice squad. It's not a lot of money to cut and put on the practice squad. Chris Williams, I don't think we match an offer. He's just not he just hasn't lived up to being someone that we extend. It was kind of a prove-it contract this year, and he's not proving it. He's a liability on the run. He's a liability in the pass rush. He's just not a backup defensive tackle. He'd fall behind Zach Pickens right now, so I don't see it happening. Jake Martin is someone that intrigues me because I'd like to see him get more reps through the end of the year, and maybe we re-sign him as a backup. You can see I have DeMarcus Walker as a backup. That's really where he belongs. Is he a starter? He can play starter quality with Montez Sweat if we had another defensive tackle that was a stud. I just don't think he's a consistent for us to run the Tampa 2, for us to run really any kind of pass rush pressure. DeMarcus Walker's not going to be that guy. So he's really more of a backup, and I see him being relegated to that role next year. So this is where the big draft picks for the Bears need to be in this year's draft in 2025 with that many huge players. I mean, really impact players, blue chip players in this draft coming from defensive tackle and defensive end. Pick up a defensive tackle first, pick up a defensive end with Carolina's pick, and there's going to be some really, really good defensive ends that fall. Princely Uman-Mielen, Landon Jackson, those caliber type of guys. You're not going to get your Abduls from Penn State in the second round, but you can still pick up a really quality defensive end that's going to be an impact player, someone that would start over DeMarcus Walker in the second round of this year's draft. All right, moving into our linebackers and our nickelback positions, and there's some players that I want to keep here. Darrell Taylor is really a defensive end, but he falls in technically to the outside linebacker position. But Jack Sanborn, if someone gives him a qualifying offer, like I said, undrafted free agent, played 3 years for us. Now we can match any offer he gets. I absolutely think we do it. Match Jack Sanborn's offer. If he gets offered 5, 6, 7 million, 100%. We got a steal with TJ Edwards with the contract we signed with him last year. There's rumors. I've thought about the idea of cutting Tremaine Edmonds, but I really think it comes more down to getting pass rush pressure, getting help on the defensive line that will get Tremaine Edmonds back to playing his best ball, which is what we want. He's on a good contract, only $17 million next year. For a good middle linebacker, that's not a bad contract whatsoever. And if we can get the help for him, it's really getting the pressure that would help him stand out again. I'm all in favor. Another linebacker as well, you can see Amen Ogbongbemiga is on the last year of his contract, as well as Carl Jones. He's on the practice squad. Micah Baskerville on the practice squad. Those guys could be signed back. We'll see. Josh Blackwell, I'm completely in favor of matching his offer as well behind Kyler Gordon. You also have Reddy Stewart that's on the practice squad. Probably bring him back as well. So this isn't about practice squad players because we can sign. Well, you'll see us at the end of the season sign qualifying offers, sign future reserve contracts for these guys that are on the practice squad because we want to bring them back. And if they feel like they have a good repertoire with our team and they feel like they have a shot to be able to work onto the roster, then they'll re-sign with us. And that's how it works with these guys on the practice squad. All right, and last but not least, certainly not least, cornerbacks and safeties who we were completely good right now. Well, if Jaquan Brisker is healthy, I mean, he's been tweeting a lot since Matt Eberflus got fired. Says he's back on the grass. He's really excited. He apparently didn't get along with Eberflus. Maybe he was getting benched by Eberflus. Maybe he was being held out. Don't know the answer to all those things. That's all speculation and rumor. But he will be coming back from injury in a couple weeks from the injured reserve list. And he is our starting free safety right now. You got Kevin Byard, Elijah Hicks, Jonathan Owens. But look at all these different colors here. These are the contracts that end next year in 2025. We're going to have a lot of them coming up. Jalen Jones, I already put over here because a restricted free agent. He's absolutely valuable. Whatever someone offers him, we match it. Doesn't matter. $3, $4, $5 million. Jalen Jones is very, very valuable for us as a backup cornerback. Douglas Coleman, I can see us absolutely giving him a league minimum contract, even if we relegate him to the practice squad again. Having the control over his contract would be valuable for the Bears. So this is the most set position for 2025. But as I said, a lot of future things. So if you can find a good player to develop in the 5th, 6th, 7th round of this year's draft, 100% go for it. Or if a player falls in the 3rd, or if we trade back a little bit, which we always dream of, but the team never seems to do, we trade back and gain a 4th-round pick, then you can take a safety there or a cornerback there to be able to bolster that. I think you really need to do that with Jaquan Brisker and his injury history. We need to be able to get more depth there. but we'll see what the team decides to do. But this is where it stands right now heading into next year. So let me know what you guys think, though. There's 3 players on the screen right now that are going to be some of the big contract decisions. You got Jack Sanborn, who will need a qualifying offer met. You got Keenan Allen, who a lot of fans are mixed on whether they want to re-sign him or not. And you got Tevin Jenkins with his injury history. Do we get a hometown discount by re-signing him? Will he sign for $12 to $15, $16 million? Or is he going to hit the open market and go for $19, $20 million and leave the Bears in the dust? It seems like those guys always end up being healthy and then go for good careers somewhere else because we had some injury history with him here. It would tend to work out somewhere else. But let me know what you guys think. Did you enjoy this? What would you like to see in the future? I'm going to start breaking down college players now that the college season is ending at each of those positions, the ones that I've been looking at, the ones that I like, as well as free agents in the free agent market and where they stand. So appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't by now, hit the like button. This is the type of stuff I know you're going to want to keep informed on. Hit the subscribe button so you can see more of it. Notifications, turn them on. That way you can be notified when I'm releasing the video. And I appreciate all of you. This channel is 1 year and 1 month old now, and we're growing, and I appreciate the community we've built. I really do. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate you all. And until next time, the Bears, and bear down.